Now, ultimately, he had to, in a sense, apologize. He can hardly apologize, but he had to apologize because, fortunately, we had a tape. We had the transcripts. I am so happy that I had the transcripts because it showed he's a liar and he's a fraud. And they continue to just go on and on. But this has happened to me with the Russian hoax. This has happened to me, I called it the witch hunt, greatest witch hunt in American history. And the Mueller report, which exonerated totally. There was no collusion after all that. This is what these people do. They demean, and the press plays in because the press largely is their partner. And you know, one thing, if we could straighten out the press in our country, we would have a place that would be so incredible. The press is so dishonest, so corrupt. I read it all the time. Stories. I don't mind bad stories. When I deserve bad stories sometimes. But when I do something great or good, let it be written about good. Same thing with other people. The corruption in the media, as I call it, the fake news media, is unbelievable. And hopefully everybody's going to sort of learn a lesson. The Russian hoax was a terrible thing. The dossier was a phony deal paid for by Hillary Clinton and the DNC and used in the FISA courts totally illegally. No, it's a terrible thing that happened. This was a takedown attempt at a sitting president of the United States, and we caught them. So let's see what happens.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we take a look at the latest new Q posts, and there is some incredible information that we can glean off of all this. First thing is, did the DNC pay CrowdStrike to do their dirty work? As it shows, hundreds of thousands of dollars paid to the firm right on the day after both Sean Lucas's death and Seth Rich's death. Two people who were trying to expose the DNC and their corruption, who died before their time in a very suspicious manner. We're going to get right into that, plus the backdoor they used to spy on President Trump and a whole lot more. So stick around and check it out. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig, and we're going to go ahead and get right into the latest Q post. But first, I always say thank you if you've hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and then make sure you check the all box for all notifications so you get notified as soon as these videos get posted, although it doesn't seem very likely that YouTube will want to get this to you as they try to suppress it on a regular basis. But that aside, we have a bunch of breaking new Q posts. The last Q post we had was Q post 3785. We're picking up at Q post 3786, and there's some big storylines here, guys, including some interesting insights into payments that are being highlighted by Q from the DNC to CrowdStrike. You know, the Ukrainian-owned cybersecurity firm who did the investigation, and I'm doing air quotes, you can't see that, but did the investigation, in air quotes there, into the servers that were hacked at the DNC, which exposed all of the criminal corruption inside of the DNC. Yeah, we're going to get into that, and we're going to get into some major payments that were made just coincidentally the days after both Sean Lucas, the guy who tried to serve the lawsuit against the DNC, was mysteriously dead, and then Seth Rich, the day after Seth Rich mysteriously died as well. So there's a big stories here, and we're going to get into that, plus a whole bunch of more. So you guys are going to want to stick around and check it out. But first, we start with this tweet from the Department for Exiting the EU. So here it is. It's a tweet. It's basically the announcement from the Department for Exiting the EU that on January 31st, they are going to be officially out of the EU. And this has been a long time coming. And I know that the people of, the United Kingdom have voted for this. They came together. They passed it in a referendum. And then they've spent the last however many years fighting to uphold the will of the people. And I think it's a testament to their will and the fact that they voted for Boris Johnson to come in and strongly push this forward for them to leave the EU. What is the EU? I mean, the EU is really just a way for the old aristocracy of the old European royal families to control and consolidate power within their realm in order to hopefully compete as basically some sort of authoritarian regime against countries like the United States, China, Russia, etc. So that is something that's a power move for the British people. I'm proud of it. on their behalf, and I think it's a good thing. And you know, if you are in Great Britain or if you're in the United Kingdom and you want to leave a comment below about it, I think you should. But apparently, it's the will of the people to remove themselves from, you know, taxation without representation and so on. You know, regulation without representation, all of that stuff, which the EU was imposing upon them. So I think it's a very good move in the right direction. But Q says this: congratulations, UK patriots. Independence is a beautiful thing. Globalism dead? Q. Now, I'm not sure that globalism is all the way dead yet, but it is certainly dying. And right now, with the UK and the United States and all of these different countries who have basically gone down this path of nationalism, which has shown to strengthen their own countries as opposed to, you know, selling themselves out to the globalists, the House of Saud and the Soroses and the Rothschilds and the global banking cartels. You know, there is a better way for our countries to move forward and become better. And I think this is a definite testament to that. So just thought I'd start there. Now, the next one is where it gets really interesting. So first of all, Q gives us this graphic. Now, what is this? This seems to be a documentation or an accounting of the payments made by the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, right, to CrowdStrike, the Ukrainian-owned cybersecurity firm, which has been a part of the cover-up of the crimes that were exposed through the hacking of the DNC servers. And I shouldn't even say hacking, because the general theory at this point, according to many different experts, including Bill Binney, former NSA director, and others, who have looked at the technical data behind this and say it could not have been a hack by Guccifer in Romania or wherever. It had to have been a literal transfer from a hard drive, a jump drive, you know what I mean, a little USB portable jump drive, because the rate at which the information was downloaded was far faster than any available internet speed at that time. So bear with me here. Remember that in the back of your head. Now, look at these dates and these payments. First, you have a $1,400 payment, then a $4,000 payment, then a $7,000 payment. But there are two payments that really stand out, and it's actually a few payments. It's three payments: this payment, and this payment. Why? Well, first of all, you have two payments for over $100,000 if you add these two together, right? You have two payments. Well, one for almost $100,000, another for almost or over $100,000. And what's the correlation here? Well, let's look at what Q says first. Q says, corrupt Democrats fighting for their lives to keep media government focused on POTUS. Don't worry, it won't be boring forever. Q. What an ominous thing for Q to say. And what a strange set of accounting to pull up and show us. Well, we know that CrowdStrike has been implicated as being the cover-upper of the crimes of the DNC, that they went in and that they basically took the DNC servers. And then, as President Trump was saying on that phone call that now they're trying to impeach him for with the president of Ukraine, President Zelensky, President Trump was saying, I hear that you guys have the servers. I hear the Ukrainians have the DNC servers, which means they would have access to all of the thousands of emails which have implicated crimes on the DNC's part. Now, they connect directly back to everything that was exposed in the John Podesta WikiLeaks dump, plus a whole lot more that was covered up even further, I would, suppose, but, we'll leave a little bit of room for doubt here, and we'll just kind of look at the facts. The facts are this, though. Here is something that somebody pointed out over on the boards, which I thought was really interesting. See these two payments right here? What do they both line up with? Oh, well, that's very interesting. The first payment there on July 11, 2016 was the day after Seth Rich was murdered. He died July 10, 2016. July 11, 2016, the DNC gave CrowdStrike a check for $98,849. I wonder if there's a correlation there. But then Sean Lucas, who was the guy who was working on the DNC lawsuit case trying to sue them for all this information, who ended up being found dead on August 2nd, 2016. Well, look at that. The DNC writes a check to CrowdStrike the very next day for $113,000, plus another payment here for $4,275. So this makes you have to think, why are we not investigating this stuff, right? The Democrats want to go after President Trump for a phone call that we have the transcript of that merely is him saying, could you help the American people out by investigating the corruption, where we have a vice president who's dictating policy over a foreign nation whose son is working for the most corrupt company in that nation, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, while his whole family is also working all across different countries where he's had his hand in foreign policy, and they're making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Plus, you have him admitting to quid pro quo extortion on tape, saying that he would withhold billions of dollars in U.S. aid to Ukraine in order to get the prosecutor who is investigating his son's corrupt company fired, right? That's Joe Biden. That's the Democrats. That's the DNC. That's what they're trying to cover up with CrowdStrike. That's why the Eric CIA, I can't even say his full name or else the YouTube, Google algorithm bots will come find this video and throw it in the memory hole. But Eric CIA was having all of his Ukrainian buddies over to Obama's White House so they could discuss how to cover up this crime, right? So they've just been tying up loose ends, it seems, all along. And now there's just this coincidental set of payments that happen to come on the exact same days of the murders of these two individuals. Nothing to see here, though. I mean, it's insane to see how this happens, but none of the other payments were over $7,000, and all of a sudden they're getting $100,000 the day after two major individuals trying to take down the DNC, expose their crimes and corruption, were killed. Yeah, totally normal, nothing to see here. Q is hinting at what's coming, I think, and it won't be boring forever. And you guys, everybody who keeps saying, I want to rest and I want all this stuff, just remember, be careful what you wish for, because when it's not boring, it's going to be dangerous. Not that it isn't already incredibly dangerous as it is. So we just have to be aware of that. Not saying I don't want anything to happen. I'm just saying, it's going to get worse, and it's going to get worse for them, I think, before this is all over, as Q is alluding to. So that aside, the next one here is this Wall Street Journal article, which talks about the Justice Department believing it should have ended surveillance of Trump advisor earlier. Well, this is so fascinating. Let's see what the first paragraph here says. The Justice Department now believes it should have discontinued its secret surveillance of one-time Trump campaign advisor Carter Page far earlier than it did, according to a new filing unsealed Thursday. Now, let me ask you this. How many times can we be correct in calling out the corruption and criminality of the deep state, in trying to put a coup on against a duly elected president, committing treason in the act, or by doing this action, and then they just write articles in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and the Washington Post saying, yeah, we probably shouldn't have done that. We should have not done that. Don't worry about it. We won't do it again. At what point do you set an example for the rest of the country, for the rest of the world out there, that shows that we have a system of law and justice, right? That it's not, some two-tier justice system, that people who commit treason and try to overthrow a duly elected government should have to face the penalties for their crimes, right? They should go to court and be given a trial, and, let's let the judge decide, or let a jury decide. But no, we can't have that. We just have these deep state, cabal lackeys in the mainstream media writing little pieces about how, we didn't mean to do that. Nothing to see here. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about us. Q says, correction will be needed. All surveillance regarding POTUS Hobbs will be concluded that there was insufficient predication to establish probable cause. Q. So what Q is saying is it wasn't just Carter Page. It was General Michael Flynn. It was Paul Manafort. It was Carter Page. It was George Papadopoulos. It was everyone that these criminals decided to illegally spy on without any predication or evidence, by abusing the FISA court, lying to the FISA court in order to get dirt on their political enemies. And this is just the cover story, I think. I think the real story is this, that this was their cover story for illegally abusing the secret surveillance system known as the Hammer, which Obama basically commandeered from the National Security Agency by using his lackeys at the CIA i.e. Snowden, to infiltrate the NSA, steal all the technology, give it to the bad actors, so that the black hats, so that they could go then use that to cover up all of their crimes and blind the only actual intelligence service who was trying to keep basically these criminals in check, right? So I really believe that there's so much more to the story. TheAmericanReport.org, Mary Fanning, Alan Jones, go read their stuff. There's so much information there. And we've gone through it over and over here in this channel. We'll continue to cover this because we will not stop until we expose each and every one of these criminals. So with that, Q responds to his own post here saying, article lacking source doc, and it gives us this FISA doc from the U.S. FISA court. Now, this is interesting. Okay, now this is a very recent doc, right? This was filed on January 7, 2020, and this talks about a push and request by the 21st of 2020 for the FISA court to produce all of the evidence that shows the criminality of the people who abused the court, right? And you know what I thought was really funny when I was looking at this? Doesn't this just look like President Trump's handwriting? That he that this is a document that was not supposed to be declassified, and President Trump just crossed out the thing with a black marker and wrote unclassified because he has that power. He is the president. He can declassify whatever he wants. He has that discretion that is built into his job. And this to me is hilarious. Let's read this letter very quickly because it's very important. It says, thanks in large part to the work of the Office of the Inspector General, U.S. Department of Justice, the court has received notice of material misstatements and omissions in the applications filed by the government in the above captioned dockets. And then it goes on to say, and it talks about FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation. It says the DOJ assesses that with respect to the applications and dockets number, etc., it says if not earlier, there was insufficient predication to establish probable cause to believe that Carter Page was acting as an agent of foreign power. Right? Then it goes on to say the government further reports that the FBI has agreed to sequester all collection the FBI acquired pursuant to the court's authorizations in the above listed 4 docket numbers targeting Carter Page, pending further review of the OIG report and the outcome of related investigations and any litigation. The government has not described what steps are involved in such sequestration, or when it will be completed. It has, however, undertaken to provide an update to the court when the FBI completes the sequestration, and to update the court on the disposition of the sequestered collection at the conclusion of related investigations and any litigation. To date, no such update has been received. The court understands the government to have concluded, in view of the material misstatements and omissions, that the court's authorizations and dockets, etc., were not valid. The government now apparently does not take a position on the validity of the authorizations in these dockets, but intends to sequester information acquired pursuant to those dockets in the same manner as information acquired pursuant to the subsequent dockets. Again, this is all legalese speak. But ultimately, what's important is this statement right here. It says, to minimize the acquisition, it says Title I of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, codified as amended, governs electronic surveillance conducted for foreign intelligence purposes, requires minimization procedures. That's Section 702, right? We talked about that here before, that are reasonably designed to minimize the acquisition and retention and prohibit the dissemination of non-publicly available information concerning unconsenting United States persons, consistent with the need of the United States to obtain, produce, and disseminate foreign intelligence information. Right? It says it also makes it a crime to intentionally disclose or use information obtained under color of law by electronic surveillance, knowing or having reason to know that the information was obtained through electronic surveillance not authorized by FISA or another express statutory authorization. So what that all is basically saying is that we know the Carter Page stuff was not real. There's an ongoing investigation. We know they used unverified evidence, and that is against the law in and of itself. So then it says, by January 28th, the government shall make a written submission regarding the FBI's handling of the information obtained pursuant to the above captioned dockets. That submission shall include detailed description of the steps taken or to be taken to restrict access to such information in unminimized form, including how many personnel have access and for what purposes. So this is basically going through and systematically breaking down how many people had access to the information, who has access to this kind of information still today, and how we're going to fix this so that the FISA court doesn't continue to be abused, to continue to be used as a political tool to spy on your political adversaries and so on. So look, I'll leave the copy of this in the description if you guys want to read the whole thing. We got a little bit more to cover here, though. The next one talks obviously about this post from Q, this post that kind of set everything up for us. It showed us how they spied on Flynn, Page, Papadopoulos, Manafort. And this is something Q told us back in August of 2018. We've known about this. We've known that the whole time, every warrant that was issued was predicated off of fake information that was basically set up by clandestine intelligence services to be a predicate. So they basically took their own assets, told them, hey, go talk to the Russians. Then they went, hey, those guys are talking to the Russians. We need a warrant because they're working with Trump too. So they told the guy, hey, go work with the Trump campaign. You're going to do great. And then like, oh, by the way, could you go talk to these Russians for us? And then they were like, they went to the FISA court and said, hey, Carter Page is over there talking to the Russians. We need to investigate him. When they were the ones employing him to talk to the Russians. And then they used the two hop method. So if Carter Page emailed, Paul Manafort and Paul Manafort emailed Donald Trump, then you could basically look at every one of their emails. So they had everything, and they were it was all based off of unverified fake intelligence that was planted by the intelligence community themselves. So Q says, when did the public first learn regarding FISA warrants +3 non-Page? If FISA warrants deemed to be illegal, all surveillance leapfrog hops, what happens to Mueller's cases? How do you invalidate a claim? Conspiracy to commit fraud, treason, sedition, whatever. Rubber bullets sting, but do not last. Q. So what Q's saying is this was all rubber bullets, right? They thought they were hitting him with something, and they hit him with something that only bounced right off and had no effect other than to tick us off, I guess you could say. And that they started with Page, and then they used Page to leapfrog to Flynn and Manafort and Papadopoulos. And then that's how they got at Trump. So if everything was predicated off of Flynn and the unverified information they used to go after him, then that means it's all fruit of the poisonous tree. That means it's all thrown out. That means it's all bunk. It's all fake. It's all terrible hoax, scam, sham, whatever you want to call it. So the next one here is this OIG doc that I want to share. It talks about the DOJ, the Department of Justice Office of Inspector General released a review of 4 FISA applications and other aspects of FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation. This is from December of 2019, where it talked about how they were investigating the Crossfire Hurricane investigation and the operation that led to the 4 individual cases of individuals associated with the Trump campaign, George Papadopoulos, Carter Page, Paul Manafort, and Michael Flynn, being investigated early on in that process. Now, this is basically saying the OIG's analysis is stating that there is something more here, and they're diving deeper into it, right? The interactions between Bruce Orr with Steele and FBI, Glenn Simpson, how they were all setting this up. So this is all talking about the manufacturing of that. And for time's sake, I'm going to leave this in the description if you want to read the whole thing. But going back here to see what Q says, it says, worth remembering, the day the public learned 4 FISA was December 9th, 2019, not too long ago. We knew back in August of 2018. The day the public learned illegal surveillance targeting of Page 2 was January 23rd, 2020. And this is talking about Cruz. We know Ted Cruz was targeted by this same process. It just hasn't come out yet. And it's going to come out. And when it does, it's just going to be another feather in our hat to show how fake and how much lying is going on with the fake news media who are trying to destroy this country with their lies because they're trying to cover up for the criminality that they've been complicit in hiding all along, right? Important markers to remember. Watch the news Q. So again, we're ahead of the news. You'll be able to see that coming up soon, coming to a theater near you. The next one is this tweet. It says, these massive yellow vest protests have continued. First, they said it was all about, gas and all that stuff. And now it's literally turning into this massive movement that hasn't stopped because France is a country that's trying to fight back for their freedom. So I'm all for making France great again and making any other country great again if they want to, abide by the standards and principles which we've set here in the United States, which I think are some of the top standards in the world, as far as just liberty, freedom, dignity, sovereignty, all of that stuff. These are important things that I think that we can all share globally, and that's really what's happening here. Q says, remember when the fake news media told you this was all in relation to a gas tax over a year ago? Sheep no more, the Great Awakening, Q. So this is a global movement. This is not just here in America, it's all over. And of course, the next one here is a Rudy Giuliani tweet saying, starting tomorrow, we will begin cracking through the swamp media's cover-up of top-level Democrats selling their public office, resulting in multi-millions in Ukraine in the conspired attempt with foreign officials to destroy the Trump candidacy. So everything we talked about here, everything we've been talking about here on this channel, through what Q has been telling us, is going to continue to be verified in the mainstream media slowly but surely as we break through, as it says here, the swamp media's cover-up. Because that's all it is. President Trump said it perfectly at the beginning of this episode. You saw it. The media, the fake news, they are the perfect partners for these criminals, and they're trying to deceive the American people, and it's something we're going to stand in opposition to. So it says worth following, precursor Q. So that's another thing to look at. And then, of course, here's the one that's kind of got a lot of people baffled, right? Wikipedia has a definition for state funeral, and that's all that Q gives us right here. It is state funeral, a public funeral ceremony observing strict rules of protocol held to honor people of national significance. Well, state funerals usually happen here in America for former heads of state or high-ranking Congress officials, and so on. But here we are at a time where Q is telling us about this. Now, there's two theories I've heard that I think are fairly interesting. One is the obvious, that Q is predicting, is calling a shot, saying that there's going to be another major high-ranking official who passes away, and we have state funeral, like we saw with Bush, like we saw with McCain, no name, I should say, and we all know what that was. Every dog has its day. Q calls his shots when he knows what's coming. So we have to look forward to see what happens in the future. But also, somebody else pointed out, this was funny, kind of, that somebody kind of got on the site and at Wikipedia, right as Q posted, and edited the post to say where we go on, we go all. And then they locked the page here on Wikipedia, so you can't edit it anymore. But the other theory is that it's basically an allegory for the deep state, and as Q said, is globalism dead? Meaning that we are winning that battle, and that's where we're gonna go ahead and leave it. That's about all we have here to cover. As always, before we go, I'd like to remind you guys to come here, watch these videos, share them on your social media. There is a content suppression algorithm, and they're trying to keep this away from pretty much anyone who wants to hear the truth. So, the authoritarian censors at YouTube have their suppression algorithms in full force, and they're trying everything they can to put this channel out of business. But you guys keep it alive by sharing these videos. Hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to think about everything. This video is also brought to you in part by RedPillLiving.com. If you guys haven't checked them out yet, they have some great supplements that you need to go check out. You need to learn more about carbon-60 and its incredible effects that it can have. Also, the liposomal vitamins, those make you feel great, and there's a lot of benefit there. Also, check out all of their other products and use the coupon code JUSTINFORMED when you come over here, and you'll get 10% off the already discounted prices. So go check out redpillliving.com/justinformed today. Also, you can be brave. Download the Brave browser. What is it? It's a better Internet Explorer browser, I should say. Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, they're garbage. Compared to this, it's free. Use the link in the description, download it right now, and they'll make a contribution to this channel as soon as you download it, install it, and run it on your computer. And once you do that, I know you're going to love it. It's a much better product. It blocks ads, and it makes the internet that much better. Also, you can come find me over here on Twitter at JustinFormedU. I'm also here at JustinFormedNews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk, BitChute.com/JustinFormedTalk. It's the official backup channel on BitChute here. Go check that out. Plus a couple other ways you can help out financially. Patreon, patreon.com/JustinFormedTalk. It's a monthly donation. You set it and forget it. You're helping create content on this channel. Also, you can come over here and donate one-time or anonymous donation at GoFundMe for Just Informed Talk. Links to everything will be in the description. You guys are what keep this channel going. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today I want to share a parable from the Gospel of Luke with you about something that's important for us all to remember. And it's the parable of the lost sheep. It's Luke 15, 1 through 7. It says, all the tax collectors and sinners were approaching to listen to him, and the Pharisees and scribes were complaining, this man welcomes sinners and eats with them. So he told them this parable. What man among you who has 100 sheep and loses one of them does not leave the 99 in the open field and go after the lost one until he finds it? When he has found it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders, and coming home he calls his friends and neighbors together, saying to them, rejoice with me, because I have found my lost sheep. I tell you, in the same way, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous people who don't need repentance. And that's my message to you guys. Remember that we have to be like Jesus teaches us to be here in this parable. We're not here to save fellow Christians, even though we're here to be there for each other as Christians in Christ, but we're here to help those who are lost, those who are living in sin, those who are in a dark place. And some people may never ever be able to come out of that dark place by choice of their own or whatever it is, but we have to try, and we have to work every day to do that. And that's my message to you, is help others, and remember the parable of the lost sheep, how the shepherd, the good shepherd, will leave the 99 to find the one. And that's my message to you. Take that, live it every day. And that's my message. So go ahead, and that's going to be a few more things. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Hit it, punch it, tap it, elbow it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's it for me. This has been Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.